Now, for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning, let's bring in Arise analyst, presenter, Dr. Constance Ikoku. Merry Christmas to you, Dr.
Merry Christmas to you in the office.
Anyway, after the show, I think we can have a groovy Christmas.
Yes. We're definitely going to have a groovy Christmas.
Indeed.
What plans have
Indeed.
you?
Well,
you don't need to spill, just,
okay.
you know.
I'll keep it in the wrap.
Right. I mean, it's been an eventful year.
Yeah, but a very unfortunate one for those in Maiduguri.
Yes.
And our heart goes to them.
Yes. Our heart goes out to residents in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, who were involved in that bomb blast yesterday night. May their souls rest in peace.
Amen.
All right. Also, a lot of national papers are not available this morning. So we'll be taking just our local papers here. It means that Nigerians work a lot, it seems. Others have gone on vacation on Christmas Day. All right. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll be kicking off today's newspaper review with Leadership newspaper. Most Nigerian papers today highlight the bomb blast in Maiduguri mosque on the eve of Christmas Eve. Ongoing debates around the tax laws are also in the newspapers today, whether to be or not amid alteration accusations. There's economic talk about fiscal deficit, heightened utilized security patrol and the experiences of travelers, alongside discussions about Christmas and the content of the president's message this season. There's also sporting news, such as Nigeria's AFCON performance and call for a greater recognition of the tournament. All these stories are set against broader seasonal and governance commentary. Leadership highlights the end of a 16-year dispute between the federal government and lecturers coming to an end, with teachers expected to retire on full salary pensions. Christian Association of Nigeria, U.S. Congressman delighted at the pardon of Sunday Jackson by Adamawa Governor Fintiri. Labour demands tax justice for Nigerians, while Katsina Bishop tells federal government that taxation should not punish the poor. EFCC charges Malami son, one other, with 1.014 billion naira fraud. Moving on to Daily Independent. The Independent reflects on the president's Christmas message, in which he promises security and religious freedom for all Nigerians. There's more news from Nigerians feeling the strain of rising travel costs by road, as well as a painful gridlock. Tax law alterations we have here that reads about... let's move on to New Telegraph, actually. New Telegraph reads about the Christmas Eve tragedy, which we have seen where 5 were killed and 35 were injured in the Maiduguri bomb blast. The House of Representatives is pledging speedy probe of those alleged altered tax laws. And Independent Corrupt Practices Commission asked Dangote to appear before it next Monday to adopt petition against Farouk Ahmed, the former boss of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. And former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar says President Tinubu is using direct local government allocation as bargaining chip. In the Punch newspaper this morning, the Nigerian Labour Congress rejects unfair taxation, even as the president preaches peace and unity at Christmas. Vanguard newspaper centers the tax law gazette furore, quoting Oyedele as saying that the president cannot stop the law, while lawyers disagree. That was also reported earlier in Delhi Independent, where the president said he lacks the power to suspend the law and asked that we wait for the outcome of probe by the National Assembly. African Democratic Congress offers credible path out of Nigeria's woes, according to a member of the party, David Mark. And federal government records 2.66 trillion naira fiscal deficit in Q2 2025. Finally, there's a special report that might interest you in the Vanguard. It's titled Highways of Fear, Staying Safe During Festive Season Travels. I'm sure a lot of people would reckon with that. The Guardian newspaper today leans into the power sector crisis that is yet to subside, averaging 3,000 megawatts this Christmas. It also reports on the growing opposition to the implementation of the tax laws in January. Kano State Assembly loses 2 members within minutes. And President Tinubu sets up an APC committee to heal rifts, mobilize party ahead of 2027. Finally, Daily Sun has gone with Nigeria owing 5.7 trillion naira after 6 months of overspending. Now, let's break down what these stories mean for everyday citizen. Let's start with the president's Christmas message. If we can pull up Daily Independent again. In the president's Christmas message or goodwill message, we're going to be interrogating what he said in light of goings on today. When you read that speech, it gives the impression that it is written in response to all that's currently happening in the nation, particularly in relation to accusations of religious persecution. President Tinubu urged Nigerians to reflect on the birth of Jesus Christ and its message of grace, hope, and peace. He said his government remains committed to protecting Nigerians of all faiths from violence and stressed that no one should suffer for practicing their religion. He said, and I quote, "As your president, I remain committed to doing everything within my power to enshrine religious freedom in Nigeria and to protect all people of different faiths from violence. No one, regardless of ethnicity or belief, should be made to suffer for professing and practicing his faith." Let's start with that. There are other ones, but let's start with that.
I think the president's goodwill message came quite timely at a time when Nigeria faces a serious existential threat. And coming from the threat of U.S. President Donald Trump, that has made a categorical warning of guns ablazing. But in the last couple of days, we've seen a more conciliatory approach to. So the president has emphasized peace and religious tolerance. And you know that when the northern governors met the last time, one of their communiques was religious, they need to tackle religious intolerance. They need to also ban mining activities. So peace and religious tolerance are very instructive at a time like this. Once again, our heart goes out to those that have lost, the people of Maiduguri states that faced that kind of attack last year. But when you look at this, the message coming from the president, it shows that his message is quite tailored and it's quite instructive and quite reflective of the U.S. president's accusation of religious genocide going on in the country. So I think that it's a moment of reflection and it's a moment of hope, and we hope that in this, with this spiritual reprieve, there will be a turnaround. But this should come with a sense of responsibility and sense of urgency from the government also, because Section 38 says, emphasize that right of thought, conscience, and religion. And it says in Section 14 of the Constitution that the welfare of the people and the security of the people shall be the primary responsibility of government. So it's not a wishful thinking. Right. It should come with a sense of responsibility and a spirit of accountability to drive this change for us to have a free and safe Nigeria. Indeed,
a moment of reflection. It's end of year. That means that we are looking at everything that happened during the year to see where mistakes were made and to see where we can move ahead with corrections.
Indeed.
The first thing that is to be observed is that the president, from day one when he was sworn in, the first observation, at least from me, is that he has a very good speech writer. Most times when the speeches are offered to Nigerians, you can see that it is well written. It takes cognizance of the general sentiments in the country, the feelings, the happenings around. And so it always strikes the right tone from day one when this president was sworn in up until now. So we can see that that's exactly what's happening with this speech. This speech is telling us that the president, he sees all that is happening, he understands what is going on, and he's going to try to make amends. Whether that happens or occurs after the speech is read is another thing entirely. But at least from the speech, he gives a sort of hope that this is a president that is well and alive and is seeing all that is going in the country and is responding also to whether it's the accusations or the allegations or the sentiments that people have within the country throughout the year. And so the second part of the speech goes to the love of God and the love for humanity at the heart of all great faiths, whether it's Muslims or Christians or Buddhists or whatever it is. So these shared values must continue to bind us together, according to the president, as one indivisible and resilient people of our blessed country. So throughout the year, he said, he's had the privilege of engaging with prominent leaders from the two major faiths in the country, particularly amid concerns about religious intolerance and insecurity. And he says that he will build on these conversations to strengthen collaboration between the government, religious institutions, prevent conflict, and promote peaceful coexistence. That's a lot of promise.
Yeah, indeed.
So next year, people will be looking forward to seeing whether these things are actually put into practice, whether anything changes at all. It is one thing to sit down with religious leaders, people of different faiths. We always talk about the Muslims and the Christians. There are people that are of traditional worship or traditional spiritual, traditional African spirituality in this country. Most times we completely forget that. There's also that. So I don't know whether he also met people from that faith.
Well, I think more importantly, I think it's a time for him to match words with action. And what do we mean by action? To set a clear roadmap for peace and security in the country. And that is by, he needs to muster and muscle out all his political will to ensure state policing, because that is one fundamental way forward. Because if he wants to to present a loan request, overnight we see the National Assembly endorsing this request and passing it within a couple of hours. But when it comes to issues that affect the people, the public interest, the public enlightened interest, it takes years of consideration, meetings and all that, push back and forth and all that. So by January, we want to see that kind of political will that insists on having that that tax reform start on 1st of January. We should also be seeing some clear drive, some resilience drive coming from the president to ensure that Nigeria is safe, because that is his fundamental responsibility. If we are to use a key performance index to judge Mr. President, that should determine whether he should continue to stay in office. But 2027 is on the way, and that would be one of the things that Nigerians will use to decide whether he continues in office or not.
Well, it depends on whether the votes count. I mean, we always say that people have the option to go to the polls and vote in or vote out a candidate. That is not to discourage people from participating in the electoral process. It is important that people participate, because then, after participation, it becomes less difficult to manipulate the votes to a certain extent. However, there's also that sense that up until now, people are discouraged, thinking, does it even matter? Is it worth it wasting my time to go to the polls? Of course, it is important to continue to do that. It is important to have a revolution in the electoral system. We'll see what that brings in 2027. Under this president, there is not a lot of people are sure that that there will be a remarkable difference from what happened in 2023. And what will happen in 2027, but there is a lot of expectations that at least there will be some difference.
Yeah, I think what Nigerians should expect is efficient functionality of democratic institutions, because if we have something functioning like the INEC election result viewing portal functioning, and we have that instant transmission, that real-time transmission of result from the polling center to the INEC result portal, that will be a game changer in our electoral landscape. And that will speak a lot about the integrity and the credibility of our political transition.
All right, leadership newspaper this morning, a sweeping probe of former Minister of Justice and Attorney General Abubakar Malami and his son, who are facing a 16-count charge of 1.1 billion naira money laundering, by the EFCC. They were said to have laundered money through a network of companies and accounts. The government alleged that Malami and his son and another man procured Metropolitan Auto Tech Limited between July 2022 and June 2025 to conceal the unlawful origin of over 1 billion naira, an offense which contravened the Money Laundering Prohibition Act 2011. These monies were further concealed through bank accounts and property acquisitions across Abuja, Kano, and Kebbi, the charge alleged. Malami will be tried alongside an employee of one of the companies, Bashir Asabe, and his son, Abubakar Malami. There's more detail when you read the full story. There's actual names of properties, actual names of bank accounts. For instance, the FCC alleged that in November 2018, Mr. Malami and Mrs. Asabe concealed 700 million naira used to purchase number 3 Onitsha Crescent home, Garaki, Abuja. No, it's a hotel there. In another account, it says that in February 2018, Malami and Hajia Bashir acquired number 3 Rhine Street, Maitama, Abuja for 430 million naira. It was also said that in 2015, they concealed 120 million naira used to purchase number 27 FAB Estate, Gwarimpa. And there's more. It goes on and on and on. The FCC is reported to be planning to bring in several witnesses, including commission staff, bank representatives, bureau de change operators, and other financial experts in this case. Benga, how is he going to get out of these allegations? There are allegations, but it seems to have been an extensive investigation or probe into this.
Yeah, this is deeply disturbing for an administration that rode into power on that high credential of the ability to stamp out corruption in the country. One thing that you cannot take away from the late President Buhari was that wide perception of him being a beam pole and having an uncompromising posture when it comes to anti-corruption. We've seen many of his ministers now under probe. So it seems that the searchlight is under the previous administration, which is under the same party. The All Progressive Congress is coming under this close scrutiny. We've had different accounts of he amassing wealth from that 60% of his wealth were in Kebbi, spanning from radio stations, rice mills, hotels, and all that. But we need to be careful in spewing this narrative, because as professionals, we shouldn't slump into subjudice. And also, we also have to see what the law says, because if you look at it, he is arguing that what is going on is a trial by the media, is a trial by detention, and a trial by political vendetta, and also that the EFCC refusing to obey court order to grant him bail. So I think, hold on, I think we need to let the law take its course in full action, and let him be arraigned, and let there be fair hearing in all this. I think that would be good, rather than the EFCC going chomps in a bit and getting laurels, and at the end of the day, we don't get to see the end of this trial. I think in public interest, it will be in the enlightened public interest to see the end of this trial rather than this media trial.
We are not spewing a narrative here, Benga. These are charges that have been brought forward by the EFCC after their investigation. That's what we're sharing with the public. That's number one. Then number two, this type of charges in relation to former ministers or public officials is not new at all. In some cases, people have been convicted because of what happened, because of their crime. In some cases, no, when you go through the record of EFCC, a lot of people have been convicted in the past. We have governors that have served their term in this country, although they were later pardoned by different presidents. But this mirrors the rot in the Nigerian system, and that's why some Nigerians will say, why do I have to pay tax when you have a lot of leakage such as this in the system where public officials are living large? Why are you taxing people? Secondly, for Malami, who, it started with an invitation by the EFCC, it turned into a detention and then custody. And so Malami is now saying that there are court orders to the effect that he should be released from EFCC detention, and EFCC has not released him. And when you listen to Malami, you wonder, this is a man who was a minister of justice. He used to be the hunter. Now he has become the hunted. And during his time as in 8 years as minister, he was someone who was very powerful under the administration of
arguably one of the most influential.
He was very powerful under the late President Muhammadu Buhari. And under that government, they disobeyed court orders. In fact, it seemed like they had disdain, total disdain for justice in the country and for legal processes. We also know that he was so close to the president. He married the late president's daughter, and we saw how politics, family, and power intertwined, which gave him the kind of power that he needed, and he used it very controversially. When you look at his record, you would see that, take it back, when you look at his record, you will see that as chief law officers, a lot of lawyers felt that he did not obey the law, and he was unbecoming as someone who was supposed to obey the laws of the land. He had a lot of cases. For instance, under that administration, we remember that Justice Walter Onnoghen, who was supposed to become the Chief Justice of Nigeria, right? He was unceremoniously removed to make way for their preferred candidate, who was Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed. A lot of other things that happened under that administration. It was also under him that there was that aggressive probe of the IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, and he was abducted and brought back to Nigeria and tried. It was also under his tenure that he was accused of trying to reinstate Abdul Rashid Maina, who was the criminal that was convicted for pensions, looting of the pensions of this country, pensions that people were supposed to use to retire, and monies disappeared under that man. Abubakar Malami was accused of trying to make sure that the man came back into the country. At the time, he was a fugitive. There's so much more that happened under Malami, and he had, a lot of enemies that he made during that period. Now he is asking for EFCC to obey court orders. He didn't obey court orders under his own administration. Well, he has to face the music. We'll see how this case pans out, like you said. These are charges. EFCC will now have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that indeed Malami, his son, and the other person in question, have a case to answer.
Indeed.
Let's look at one story. We've touched on that. Vanguard newspaper, 5 killed, 35 injured in Maiduguri mosque bomb blast on the eve of Christmas. The Borno State Police Command confirmed the incident. The mosque was is in a main market, and it was attacked by a suspected suicide bomber. The mosque area is said to be bustling because it is also in a market, Gamboro market. The governor, Babagana Zulum, has condemned the attack and extended his condolences to the victims. And our heart goes out to the victims as well. But this is a reminder that we are yet to completely win this war against terror.
Indeed.
And this was so unexpected, although the bomb blasts in public places like markets was very common at the height of the Boko Haram insurgency. For a few years, it has receded. Now we have seen this, so hopefully the effect will not be too much. Let's go to the international stories this morning, beginning with Ghana. Actually, there's a story here that 48 Nigerians were arrested in Ghana for cybercrime. It was during a nighttime raid on the outskirts of the capital. And these people were accused of conducting romance scams, online investment fraud, and impersonation schemes, and illicit online gold trading. The Ghanaian Information Minister, Sam George, said police recovered 54 laptops, 39 mobile phones, and a Starlink internet kit during the raid. This is not a story you want to hear about Nigerians abroad?
Yeah, unfortunately, we invited the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy yesterday, and unfortunately, he was not here. So it would have been nice to know where Nigeria stands when it comes to war against cybercrime. But it's now obvious that it has taken an international dimension. It has taken a cross-border dimension. Many of the people perpetrating these acts now go to neighboring countries to find them as hideouts. So now with the Ghana Cybersecurity Authority in conjunction with its National Security Office clamping down on this suspects, on this cybercrime suspect, it would be nice to have a joint collaboration with perhaps an ECOWAS of states anti-cybercrime cooperation to stamp out this issue, because the mode of operation of this suspect is being highlighted that they work in the late hours of the day. You could see their gadget, about 54 laptops recovered from them, and some other equipment. So when you look at this issue coming on the eve of Christmas Day, it shows that the issue of security threats is moving from the ground space to the cyberspace. Yeah. And we need a lot of strong action to clamp down on this.
Yeah. Apart from that, though, there is a story that a lot of Nigerians, or some Nigerian youths, were trafficked or being lured into the country under false pretenses of employment, and then they're coerced into participating, whether it is in prostitution or online scams. That is what is going on. So they have to be very careful to see whether there are people that are just vulnerable and they are victims, or those compared to those that deliberately set out to go and set up online scams in other countries. Let's go to Algeria, a very interesting development in that country. Here we hear that the Algerian parliament has passed a law declaring France's colonization of that country as a crime. It seeks accountability and reparations for the past. Also, the parliament demanded an apology from France. Can this law be enforced under international law? Maybe not, but it's certainly symbolic and may affect the way Algeria deals with France going forward. And of course, may affect what now happens in other Francophone countries.
Yeah, when it's been asked whether it can be determined under international law, I think it's the international law, according to the UN Charter 34, provides that all injuries done internationally should be fully repaid. That is clear under Article 34 of the UN Charter. So I think the Algeria, who was colonized since 1832 for about 130 years, over 130 years, deserve that right. It might not be a fully legal symbol, but it has a lot of far-reaching political and symbolic impact on the damage done. We have an historian saying that about 1.5 million were killed during the French invasion of Algeria, even though some French scholars are saying that it's about 400,000 to 500,000. But which, whatever the figure is, it is clear that the damage has been done, which is established under international law according to UN Convention Article 34. And I think that the best thing is, but again, this is coming against the backdrop of the 1.5 million people.
Rift. The 1.5 million people were killed during the War of Independence. The War of Independence happened between 1954 and 1962. And then France ruled Algeria from 1830 to 1962. France was said to have ruled very roughly through a system of torture, enforced massacres, economic exploitation, mass killings, and large-scale deportations. But also this also happened in similar vein in other African countries that were colonized. You hear of DR Congo and what the Belgian King Leopold did then, you know, real massacred people and killed people because of interest in economy in that country, taking advantage of people in the DR Congo. And when you look at the record across African countries, is the same. So the Algerian parliament has said that, quote, they are sending a clear message that both internally and externally that Algeria's national memory is neither erasable nor negotiable, and they are demanding full and fair compensation for all material and moral damages caused by French colonization. We'll be looking at how that goes, but those were your headlines today.
Thank you very much, Dr. Constance, for that insightful analysis. Now,